Welcome guys, it's time for another AI coding tool video, and I know I've said it in the last video too, but again, this one also feels different. If you have a look at their heroes section, you can see your vision, your software built by AI, followed by a pretty bold claim, your hunt for a CTO ends here. And if you scroll down and have a look at the projects that were built by and with Databutton, it's actually interesting and impressive because it says Christian supercharged his customer's ERP with an advanced inventory app. Joseph launched the world's first all-in-one AI content tool. And just from reading through them and looking at them, you can see that it actually looks different, right? It's a somewhat complicated application. Unfortunately, we can't click on the cards. It's only a screenshot of the app, so we don't really know much about the app, but just from looking at it, again, it feels different from all of the other applications that you usually see on these kinds of websites, right? So let's scroll down a bit further. As you can see, it says your reason agent is the first to ever learn and know about your app. Share your app brief as a vision, specs, and design inspiration to get started. Databutton has long-term memory about your app and decisions made along the way. It can create high-level plans, so it creates a PRD, but it divides the steps even further. What this will look like, we'll see in a few minutes. And it can also execute big tasks. It says take technical ownership. The agent handles deployment and makes tech decisions like which database or product analytics to use, but you can always override. Now, before we click get started, I want to scroll down to the pricing section, and before you get a heart attack, because it says $699 per month, respective $2,000 per month, you can see that they also have a competitive pricing tier, which is Agent Plus Community, where you pay $20 per month for 75 AI app edits. Now, if you click get started for free, you actually have something like a free trial where you get 20 free AI credits, and this usually is enough to build a pretty basic MVP, so it's a good starting point. Now, what's interesting with Databutton is that you get, for the next pricing tier, you get a human advisor, and for the Agent Plus Human Devs, you get, well, exactly what it says, Human Devs, which is why you have this big price tag, right? You essentially get real human developers that double check your code and help you develop your application. Now, without further ado, I'd say let's click get started. You can either connect with Google, GitHub, or email. I will choose with Google, and then we'll have a look at the setup wizard. We'll go with the following prompt: a user-friendly, reliable, and scalable URL shortening service that offers basic features for free users while providing advanced analytics, custom domains, and branded URLs for paid subscribers. The service will maintain a clean, modern design inspired by Apple-esque aesthetics. So we have simplicity and elegance, robust free tier, allow up to 5 custom URL shorteners per user. Scalable paid tier, enable advanced analytics with click tracking, geographic data, refers, device breakdown, and time of day trends, branded URLs and custom domains. We use WebSockets for real-time analytics, and this will be interesting, okay, because this is a pretty sophisticated feature. So we'll see how well Databutton can handle this, if it can handle it at all. We also want to have a way of abuse prevention. So integrate with external APIs, Google Safe Browsing, and implement rate limiting to prevent spam malicious content. And we want modern authentication, Superbase for auth, email and password, Google Social Login, and Stripe for subscription management. So we'll hit continue, and now you can upload the different documents that you have created for your application, right? So let me quickly do this. As you can see, there are quite a few, and now we can click continue, and here we can basically add screenshots for our application. Just for the sake of this demo, I have a screenshot of a landing page here. Now, full disclosure, I haven't created that myself, and I want to give the designer, I got that from a shout out. He's called Josh W. in Montreal. I found it on Dribbble, so definitely check him out. Now that we have that, let's hit continue, and we can also choose the different integrations. So since this is a native integration, I want to go with Firebase auth, and I also want to go with the native Firestore database integration. And for the payments, we'll probably go with Stripe, just because I've already worked with Stripe. I have a little bit of experience with that. You can choose whatever you want. And for the storage, maybe we can also go with Firebase storage, just to keep it simple, right? Okay, now if you click let's start, it says creating your application. So maybe I can zoom out a bit so that you can see it a bit better. And this takes only a couple of seconds, and then you will be redirected to your main application dashboard, so to speak. And there you will basically see the plan that Databutton has created. You can click through it, you can edit it, or you can just click start work and it will start with the first phase of your implementation. So let me quickly change back the screen. As you can see here, it says our plan to build Link Snap. So you even get a name for your application. And on the right, maybe let me zoom in a bit. You can see it said, okay, thought for a moment. Hello, I'm excited to help you build Link Snap. I've created a detailed implementation plan broken down into 8 key tasks that will take us from concept to a working MVP. I suggest we start with LIN1, create a modern landing page with URL shortening functionality. This will give us a solid foundation and allow us to establish the app's visual identity, implement the core URL shortening feature, and also create clear path to sign up and premium features. As you can see here at the bottom, it says 20 of 20 credits. So we haven't used any of our credits yet. And before I just click start task, you can click on the task, then you will see this modal appear and you basically get a quick description about the different steps inside of that specific task. You can see it says set up Firebase authentication and user profiles, implement Firebase authentication with email, password, and Google sign-in options, create a user profile system, yada, yada, yada. And the same is true for the rest of the 8 steps that we need to take. You can see that after we set up the landing page and the Firebase authentication for the user profiles, we immediately start to build the URL shortening backend service. Then the next step is to create the user dashboard for managing shortened URLs, implement basic analytics tracking and display, set up Stripe integration for premium subscription, and add URL validation. Now, hopefully, we will be able to finish the whole application, but I'm not quite sure because, well, at the end of the day, I don't really know how extensive this application will be. I mean, you've seen it in the beginning, but right from the start, I can see that, for example, so it has WebSockets connection in here. So we'll see how well Databutton can handle this. And you can always click inside of the description. You can change it. You can also change the title name. But just for the sake of this demo, we'll go with the initial draft of the plan, so to speak. And I want to click start task for LIN1. And then you can see on the right, it says, okay, let's start working on LIN. And you basically get a few thoughts of the Databutton model. And here is, you can see it says, I'll create by starting the URL shortening API. We kind of need the URL shortening functionality, right? So that's probably the reason. And then you can see it's always thinking what it needs to do next. So URL shortening API created successfully. The backend client has been generated. And now let's create the modern landing page. Code writing failed. So as you can see, you don't really have to do anything because it, well, kind of notices when it makes some errors and it starts again. As you can see, we've already used one of the credits. And here at the top, you can click on preview. On the left, you will have all of the different UI components. You will have the pages that were generated so far. You have the APIs. So in our case, we have created the API for the shorten route and also for the short code. As you can see, we already have our first initial draft of the landing page, which is pretty neat. And at the top, you have the different settings. So for example, you have some information about your app. You can also add custom instructions for the agent that is working on the application. Here you can provide your production URL if you already have one. Then we can also add other extensions. So for example, Firebase auth, we still need to do this. We can also provide some more information about the design. So for example, the favicon, and then we can also create the secrets. So those are the environment variables, right? We can also invite other people and we can install any more packages should we need one. But as you can see here, it says upgrade workspace. So this seems to be a pro feature. Okay, and you can also add Firebase. All you really need to do, and we will do this in a bit, is head back over to Firebase, create an application, and then paste the Firebase config here. Click on install Firebase auth, and that's basically all you need to do. But we'll get to that once Databutton prompts us to do this. this. So let's head back over here. As you can see, it says, I've completed the initial implementation. Could you please check out the preview and test the following? Try shortening a URL by pasting it into the input field and click shorten. Verify that the shortened URL is copied to your clipboard. Check that the design matches the modern Apple-inspired aesthetic. And the last step is verify that error messages appear when trying to shorten without URL. Just for testing purposes, I grabbed a random Reddit URL and we'll click shorten. It says shortening. We get a status 200. Let's see if I open a new tab. Look at that. We already have a working URL shortener in, I don't know how many minutes, 10, 12 minutes, whatever, how long I've been recording already. And if I click enter, I will probably be redirected to the correct destination, right? Okay, no, it says page not found. Are you sure you have the right link? But that's not a big deal. I mean, if we have our custom URL, we can basically use the custom URL and then it should work. So we can have a look at the API. As you can see here, we import fast API from API router, HTTP exception, and then we basically have some simple code where we just generate a random shortcode. I mean, the documentation or the comments are also quite nice so that you always know what the code is doing. We shorten the URL and return the shortened version. And well, we also redirect to the original URL. So for some reason, as I've said, the redirection, I mean, you could see it isn't working, but we'll just leave it at that for now because I want to first proceed with the next to-dos and then we'll do the bug fixing later on, right? Because I don't want to waste too many credits. And as you can see, the different screen sizes also work. We have desktop, tablet, and mobile. Everything looks neat and clean. So I guess we'll head back over to the plan and we'll do mark as done. And then we'll just start the next to do. Okay, moving to Lin 2. Would you like to add Firebase to your application? Yes, please. And now, as you can see, this is the same modal that we were able to see when I clicked add Firebase, right? So let's quickly set up Firebase and then we'll proceed with the rest of the second to do. All we need to do is we need to hit the link. We will be redirected to the Firebase console. This is the other project that I tried to build with Databutton. So now you hit create new project and we call this a link snap. We'll click continue. Yes, continue once more, continue, and default account for Superbase. Now this will take only a few seconds and then we'll be redirected. Now we need to create the actual application, right? And for that you want to click on the web logo here and you want to give it a name. In my case, I just call it link snap-web. We don't need Firebase hosting for now. We'll do register app. And now we need the Firebase config here. So just copy that, head back over to your Databutton instance. You paste that here and then you click install Firebase auth. This will go ahead, install all the necessary dependencies, and then it will create the login, logout page, the config, and restart your application. So we'll give it a few more seconds until it's done, and then we'll proceed with the next steps. It says your app is protected. We can now click done and we should already be able to test it. So let me quickly open this in a new tab and now we can click login. We should be redirected. Okay, so it doesn't work yet, but that's not a big deal. So we'll head back over here. Okay, and you can see it's writing the code and connecting everything in the backend. So we'll just give it a few more seconds until it's done and then we'll test it. It says observation, sign up page doesn't exist yet. Need to create the sign up page. And at the bottom, you can see how it keeps refreshing the app. Once it's done with one step, it just automatically proceeds with the next step. Right now, it's updating the code for the URL shortener and everything. You can see that so far we have used 5 of our 20 free available credits. And again, guys, this feels a bit different and it takes a bit longer until the code is written, right? It's not you just write a prompt and immediately you will have a solution. Okay, now it seems to be done. It still says installing packages. Firebase admin installed successfully. Need to update landing page to handle authentication. Okay, I guess we're almost done. We have spent 1 more credit. Okay, it says updating sign up. So we should be able to test this feature any second now. Okay, so we will be redirected to the sign-in page with Google. So you have to do two more things. First of all, you want to, as I've said, head over to Firebase, and here you want to click on authentication, and you want to go to sign-in methods, and you want to enable Google, right? So just click add new provider, then you want to choose Google, and you want to enable it. And the next thing that you need to do is you want to head back over to the settings to authorize domains, and you want to add databutton.com to your list of authorized domains. And now if we head back over to our application, we click sign in, you can see that we are redirected to accounts.google.com, and hopefully we should be able to log into our application. You can see that we are logged in indeed, right? So we have 0 of 5 URLs used. We have the dashboard. The reason why the tab was closed, because in the back end of Firebase, I think there's a redirect URL set, and unfortunately this doesn't really exist, right? Usually these services link back to localhost or something like this, but since this is running not on localhost but on the Databutton domain, we basically, just lost the tab, so to speak. Okay, now if we click on the dashboard, do we see something? Okay, it says page not found, but that's not really a big deal. But let's have a look at our Firebase application. You can see that we indeed have this user. Great. Now we can head back over to Databutton. We can click mark as done. And what we want to do is we want to build the URL shortening backend service. So we still have 12 of our 20 credits left, and we'll see how far we'll get. So we'll wait a few more seconds until Databutton is done with the backend. Okay, as you can see, it jumped from 13 available tokens to 5 just after finishing or almost finishing this step. And now we are prompted to add this Firebase service account JSON. You can get this from your Firebase console, go to project settings, navigate to service accounts, click generate new private key, and copy the entire JSON content. So we're here, and as you can see, generate new private key. We'll generate this one. Again, never give this to anyone. Let me quickly grab this from a different window, and then we have to paste it in the correct input field. So we'll head back over here to Databutton, and we need to paste that here. It says brain reloading at the top, as you can see, but we still get some errors. It says, would you like to mark Lin3 build the URL shortening backend service as complete? Well, not really, because first we have to at least test it to see if it works somehow. Let me quickly grab the Reddit URL once more. We'll paste that here. It says shortening. Okay, so unfortunately I made a mistake. Databutton has created the link shortening service in a way that it will also be stored inside of Cloud Firestore immediately. But unfortunately, I haven't set up Cloud Firestore in console.firebase.google.com, right? So I did this off camera, just went to build, chose Firestore database, set up the database. As you can see here, it works. We add the link. Here's the original URL, console developers, Google, and so on. We have the short code created at this timestamp. So this was roughly, I don't know, 90 seconds, 2 minutes ago, something like this. And we even have a click count field, and inside of the Databutton, the actual application, unfortunately, we don't see the URLs created in the free tier. But if I click create new link, and I will paste that here, and I click shorten, it says shortening, then the input field will be deleted, and the shortened URL will be added to my clipboard, as you can see here. Now, unfortunately, the redirect doesn't work, right? It still tries to access the Databutton URL. The reason why it's not working is probably, well, because of the fact that we're using the Databutton URL. Again, I will quickly copy all of that into Cursor, and then we'll see if it works. Okay, so I've basically copy pasted all of the code from Databutton into Cursor, and I've changed some of the syntax because this is actually using React Router DOM and stuff like that, and I changed this to, well, Next.js's internal routing with page router, right? And I worked on it a little bit more. So this is the current application. As you can see here, this is the main page. I really haven't changed anything about this, but as you can see here, we have the authenticated user in the header. Now we can also see how many free URLs were used in the free tier. In the dashboard, we have some nice graphs displaying when links were created and also how many clicks they've already gotten. I've asked Cursor to implement a WebSocket server for real-time analytics and also a dedicated backend server that basically tracks all the analytics. Now, this isn't really important. Important is that I wanted to show you that the redirection works, right? So let me quickly head back over here. We'll paste the Reddit link, click shorten. Then as you can see, we get an information, and we also have the new shortened link inside of the clipboard. And now you can see redirecting, and we'll land on the Reddit page. And if we have a look inside of our dashboard, you can see that this is the new, which one is the link? Yeah, the first one is the link. You can see that we have one total click. It says 11 o'clock for the click. So this isn't correct still, because right now it's 11:45, right? So there still needs to be done something with the timestamp in the back end so that we have the proper format. But other than that, I mean, it works, right? So the redirect issue was just because Databutton wouldn't redirect the URL. That's what I wanted to show you. And well, other than that, I mean, Databutton feels nice, definitely. It feels a lot more professional than other AI coding tools, to be honest, just because we have this nice plan view and we have everything laid out, and it feels like really an agent is working for you and doing all of the heavy lifting. I mean, you can have a look at all of the different thoughts and all of the different steps. And really, this kind of makes me wonder where we'll be in 1 year from now, maybe. Because with these kinds of applications like Databutton, and I'm sure there will be other tools that I haven't heard of yet, we're getting one step closer to actually building a complicated app with a designated backend and everything. Because, well, as I've said, you know my opinion. I'm really sick of all of the YouTube videos claiming that you can build everything that you want with Cursor and all the other apps. But at the end of the day, those people are just building small applications, wrapper of something, don't have state management, don't have a designated backend, just have a front end running with Next.js. And while this is also a great opportunity and you can build great applications with it, you pretty quickly hit a ceiling when you have a app idea that is more complicated, right? Where you, for example, need a backend that needs to handle more requests, right? But other than that, I mean, definitely check out Databutton. You can use it to pretty much build the MVP of your application, depending on how complicated it is. But that being said, I hope you gained a little bit of value from the video, and I see you in the next one.